It is the top of the 7 o'clock hour on a Thursday morning, Hong Kong, Singapore time. We'll get down to business on Squawk in just a bit.
Let's get some perspective now from Simon Littlewood. He's president of Asia Now and an expert on Indonesia. Simon, this is obviously a very difficult decision for the government to undertake, and they are obviously trying to go about it as best as they can. Do you notice any difference in how they're trying to implement these fuel price hikes versus other times they've done it?
Well, I mean, there's something about the timing. I mean, you say it's difficult. It was inevitable, and was inevitable from about 4 months ago. Essentially, their government was bust by the time the fuel price went up to about $65. Obviously, they've been trying to balance political expediency and the desire to stay in office, and the risk of upheaval with the urgent need to get the economy in shape. I think that, leaving aside the issues of how the increase will be composed, and probably it's going to be an increase of between 30 and 50% depending on the product. What's really encouraging about this is that by allowing 2 increases in 1 year, although this still only puts gasoline and diesel to about 70% of international prices, what it does is it creates, I think, a dynamic, if you like, a sense in the eyes of international investors that SBY is going to carry through. And indeed, you know, one can envisage that if there are further price increases next year, international investors, particularly energy investors, for whom there is a desperate need, are going to read into this the probability that the Indonesian downstream sector may become profitable sometime within the next couple of years, and that will affect their investment decisions as early as the first quarter of next year. So, sorry, that was very long-winded, but in essence, it's good news.
So good news for foreign investors. But nonetheless, politically, this is very tricky because they have still fresh in their minds, former President Megawati Sukarno-Putri calling off the fuel price hikes that she had originally implemented, and then after that, the downfall of Suharto. Yes,
I mean, this when people take to the streets in Indonesia, it might appear that this is about the poorest element of society who cook using subsidized kerosene. Actually, it's not. The main beneficiaries in economic terms from fuel subsidies overwhelmingly are the rich. Because of artificially low gasoline and diesel prices, large amounts of refined product are used for power generation and for running companies, when in fact there would be far more economic sense for things like gas to be used. So, these potential political protests have to be seen in that context. I mean, what that actually means is that although there might be trouble on the streets, the real dealing, if you like, is done behind the scenes, because it's the political power brokers who control big chunks of industry. And it's probably taken 3 to 4 months to sort this, because that's the important dialogue for SBY. As long as they're happy, he's safe. The large numbers of people that you saw on the street, for example, when Megawati tried to do this, were, shall we say, clients of other interests. So I think it has to be seen in that context. I think there's also timing. Ramadan is coming up. That's quiet. That means consumption is relatively low. There has been great care taken to announce subsidies for the poorest consumers, particularly for kerosene. Instead of spreading those, a big chunk of money is going to be paid all at once over the next couple of months. Cynical, one could say, but it may well do the trick. Yeah.
Okay, and keep him in power as well.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us today. That's Simon Littlewood with Asia Now. And that wraps up CNBC Tonight. I'm Maura Fogarty. Do not go away. U.S. Squawk Box is coming right up.